Welcome to the Bold Analysis, ladies and gentlemen. This podcast is going to be very unpopular for most of you, but kindly just take some time and watch this podcast because there is something critical that we must warn and we must actually tell the public as early as now. The brutal truth here is William Samoei Arap Ruto's, or rather Kenya Kwanza tenure until 2022 is very bleak and is not promising. Even against all these cosmetic moves that Kenya Kwanza is making to save the Ruto regime, the truth here is that this regime is in ICU, and it is just a matter of time. So in this podcast, I want us to confront some fear mongering that has been going on. People have been selling fear to the members of the public, and I want us to debunk those fears as early as this. I think that is critically important, and I've just realized that. And the best place to start is this video.
Nataka kuambia watu wetu, hii serikali ya William Ruto, serikali ya Kenya kwisha. Tayari wamegundua 2027 wanaenda nyumbani. Na ndio wasikia propaganda zingine wanajaribu kusambaza. Ruto ataiba kura. Ruto atafanya rigging. But I want to tell this government, zile kura ambazo watu watapiga za kutoa hii serikali kwa kiti zitakuwa mingi kiasi. Kufanya rigging, it will be next to impossible. Very impossible. Let me tell you, kitu ya kwanza ya maana Mheshimiwa William Ruto anafaa agundue ni kwamba yeye ananga kura. Na hii mambo ya kutuambia sio ameshikana na baba, si baba atakuja na kura zake. Baba anakuanga na kura gani? Baba anakuanga na kura gani? Nataka tufanye hesabu. Last elections, kura ambazo zilitangazwa za William Ruto ni 7.1 million. Zile zilitangazwa za Raila Odinga ni 6.9 million. Tukifanya hiyo hesabu, tuchukue za Raila Odinga, utoe kura ya Wakikuyu milioni 1, ubaki na 5.9 million. Utoe kura za Kalonzo Musyoka almost 3 million. Wale wakamba wote wako Ukambani, wale wako Mombasa, wale wako Taita Taveta, kwenda huko paka kule Lamu, paka kule side za Kwale, ni wengi sana. That is 3 million votes. Sasa Raila amebaki na 2.9 million. 2.9 million toa kura za Wabukusu na hii cost nyingine. Tutoe za Wabukusu kama 500,000 za Waruya. Tubakishie Raila 2.4 million. Tuchukue za William Ruto 7.1 million. Utoe za Wakikuyu 3.5 million. Ubaki na 3.5 million. 3.5 million tuchukue za wale Waruya ambao walikuwa zaidi yake, anabaki na kama 3 million. Wacha tukusanye hiyo 3 million ya William Ruto na 2.5 million za Raila, tuwabakishie 5.5 million. Tuchukue hizo zingine 3.5 million za Wakikuyu ambao walipigia, ama za watu wa Mount Kenya ambao walipigia Ruto 3.5 million. Tukusanye na ile milioni 1 ya Raila Odinga, that is 4.5 million. Tuongezea za Kalonzo Musyoka 3 million, that is 8.5 million. Na saa hiyo tutaongezea za wale wa Kenya ambao wamechoka na hii serikali. Hatujaongezea kura ya Gen Z ambao wengine hata ni kutoka kwa jamii ya Wakalenjin. So tutakuwa na 10 million strong ya kupeleka hii serikali nyumbani. Ruto wakiwa na 5.5 million. Hiyo hata asaidiwe na shetani hataweza kulii hiyo uchaguzi. So naambia wa Kenya, watu wetu ambao wanatakia Kenya mazuri, we work together. Watu wachukue kura, watu wakatae mambo ya kuhongwa, and by 2027 August uchaguzi kianza asubuhi 6, by 9 am hii serikali tutakuwa tumepiga kura ya kutosha ya kuipeleka nyumbani. Sasa wewe Ruto danganywa hapo, ukiambua sijui uko na sijui nini, Watu wetu wakiambiwa tutaiba kura, hii hautawezana nayo. This one will be very impossible. Very impossible. Hii tutakutoa, tutakupeleka nyumbani, tutahakikisha umefika Sugoi. Kenya tupatie mtu ambaye ni mzalendo, ambaye atasukuma gurudumu ya maisha wa Kenya kwa njia ambayo inafaa. Sisi tuko imara, watu wetu wa Mount Kenya na watu wetu wa kura Mount Kenya South ambao ni Ukambani. Tuliambiwa na Senator Wambua, it's no longer Lower Eastern, it is Mount Kenya South. Tuko pamoja, Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka, Mheshimiwa Kioni, Mheshimiwa Eugene Wamalwa, Mheshimiwa Natembea na wengine. Hii itakuwa force, hamtawezana nayo. 2027, Ruto must go.
This gentleman have spoken boldly about factors that Kenyans don't want to really hear or don't want to reconcile with. The truth here is in that document, is in that video, that come 2027, the possibility of Ruto regime losing that election is there. That is, if you did probability, that probability, the same way there's a probability of getting second term, the probability of losing that election is equally there. And looking at just those probabilities and these developments, I can tell you that there is a lot of fear-mongering, especially after the Gen Z protests. There's a lot of fear. And there's some 3 instances I want us to look at. These 3 things, there are 3 things that have happened after Gen Z protests. And to me, these are the 2 aspects that the president have done. The 3 moves that the president have done. The first move is the BBG. The broad-based government. This is a narrative that was, when Kenyans came out in their numbers on June 25th to show their resentment, it was a vote of no confidence on the presidency. It was a vote of no confidence on presidency. And I know from Statehouse, William Ruto looked through the mirror and said, the people, my popularity has diminished. If Kenyans can come out in this number, my popularity has diminished. So the idea of broad-based government was a narrative of creating speaking about some unity, and in fact it is an ethnic mobilization narrative. Those who are talking about broad-based, that broad-based thing is not anchored on any principle of regional balance, of justice. It's anchored on ethnic mobilization. And to best understand that, you will see MPs going to media and speaking about their communities. You will see handlers of Raila Odinga going and saying, we as Luos, we as Kikuyus, we as Kalenjins, we are in government. It is a sense, and my Buka Omole is presenting a better understanding of debunking best this BBG.
The current connotation of a broad-based government is mainly to accommodate tribal billionaires from respective clubs, from respective tribes. We do not have a government of national unity. We do not have a broad-based government. And we must continue to remind the Kenyan people that when President William Samoei Ruto talks about broad-based government, he's talking about his billionaire friends who will help him to draw an architect to win the next election whenever it comes. So we don't respect that the coastal land equation have not been sorted out, and people think that when Joe comes to government, it's a broad-based government. It's one billionaire from the coast region. When Badi comes to run the treasury, it's not the Luos. The Luos is not a monolithic whole. We have the poor majority Luos that will never benefit from this corrupt government. Then we have the Luo elite, which are mainly the billionaires that have been appointed by this regime to support corruption. So the question of a broad-based government does not apply within the UDA environment. Now, the second one is on the impeachment. And I wanted to pick just two issues on the impeachment so that we align. The first thing is Deputy Gachagua has been accused of corruption. But we know that the Kenya Kwanza regime itself is a product of corruption. Remember, President William Samoei Ruto has been palling around corrupt people that have been convicted. Did you not see Walukwe taking selfies with the president in Statehouse? Is that not corruption? The people who have been accused of shooting innocent people in point blank. We have MPs who have killed people during elections, are palling around government. The people in Mombasa, did we not see a lady in Mombasa, the supporter of William Samoei Ruto, his bodyguards and herself killing people? Now, when we talk about issues to do with corruptions, did we not see during the campaign time religious leaders and important politicians palling around the DP pavilion and coming out with envelopes? What was that? Was it not corruption? So Kenya Kwanza government is a product of corruption. And yesterday I had an important interaction at Mukuru kwa Njenga at Kware. And I like the connotation that the young people there were saying that the Kenya Kwanza government has, it's a bus with several components. And they were saying, President William Samoei Ruto is the driver, and then the Makanga is the deputy, and the turn boys are Madividi and Weta, and then they have hired a mechanic. Boys are Madividi and Weta, and then they have hired a mechanic called Raila Molodinga to try and fix their problems. And they were saying the bus is carrying the MPs. So that kind of connotation was very interesting for me, especially that it was coming from Mukuru kwa Njenga, Kware, where it represents the police extrajudicial killings.
So the truth here is the broad-based thing is not anchored on social justice. It's some people that are brought together just to mobilize some tribes. That was first thing. The second thing, that is the first cosmetic move that was done. And of course, it was, it is in a very comfortable setup because it was brought up, and then at some point Raila was now to go to AUC, African Union Commission, something that I think has collapsed. The second thing is regarding impeachment. And I want to say for the record here, regarding removal had nothing to do with the civil cases of him having companies. No. Regarding impeachment had nothing to do with the personal fallout between Ruto and Rigathi. He could still forgive Rigathi and life would still move on. Rigathi impeachment was part of political packaging. It was part of the procurement process of procuring a narrative for 2027. And to just support this point, the former deputy president was removed, and his impeachment branded him as an agent of isolative politics, as a man who is planting disunity. And that is why after that impeachment, the president came out and spoke about, we have now done with politics, we are bringing Kenyans together. And the political elites are telling the masses that with Rigathi out, we are now bringing the masses together. How? Oh, maybe I'm not getting it. Maybe I'm not getting it. explain to me, just go to the comment section and explain to me how removing Rigathi Gachagua has united the country. Explain to me. You stay in Malim Naishi, different areas. There are areas where people... Explain to me how Rigathi impeachment brings unity. Or rather, can you explain to me how Kindiki, now as a deputy president, is going to unite people of this country? It is just something being put up. And yesterday, Moses Kuria went and attended an event in Meru. And he opposed a plan by Mount Kenya to form their own political party. If, and I would want to ask, let us listen to this, because one of, I saw a TikToker from that region debunking that.
Naitwa Isaac Mungai, aka kijana msafi, chairman wa New Gema Young Leaders Movement, na nataka kuguzia mambo ambayo nimesikia Moses Kuria, aliyekuwa mbunge wa Tondo, ama juzi amekuwa waziri wa public service, akiongea. Akasema ya kwamba ati hiyo barabara tunapitia kama jamii ya Mlima Kenya, ati ya kujitenga na kujiondoa katika mahali pale wa Kenya wale wengine walioko, ati tumeanza kupotea barabara kwa sababu sisi ni wanabiashara kama jamii, na ati wale ambao tunajitenga kwao ati ndio makasima wetu. Ati kwa hivyo tukijikalisha kama Mlima Kenya na tuanze kujipanga kisiasa kama Mlima Kenya, ati tumepotea barabara. Mimi nataka niambie Moses Kuria, umesahau juzi wakati tulikuwa tunafanya uchaguzi ya 2022, ulikuwa na chama yako, ilikuwa inaitwa sijui chama cha kazi. Wewe mwenyewe ukarukaruka hapa, baadaye ukakimbia kwa William Ruto, mkaandikania hapo, akasema atakupatia kiti ya waziri. Alipokupatia kiti ya waziri, baadaye chama yako ya chama cha kazi ukaivunja. Vile uliivunja, ukaisambaratisha kamalizika, ukamezwa na UDA. Baada ya kumezwa na UDA, William Ruto mwenyewe akakukoni. Nasema alikukoni kwa sababu baada ya kuvunja chama chako cha kazi, alikufuta kazi kama waziri, ukakuja hapa Gatondo, umerukaruka, ulikuwa unaenda mazishi kila Saturday, hata mazishi ya watu hujui, kulialia huko ukiambia watu sijui nilifutwa kazi. Sababu umelialia sana hapa, William Ruto akakuhurumia, akaona sababu unaweza ongea umuharibie, akakuita pale Statehouse. Akasema ya kwamba sijui amekupatia kazi ya advisory. Hakuna kazi ya advisory amekupatia. Tunaelewa vizuri ya kwamba pale Statehouse kazi yako ni kukua nyapara, kuangalia vile China mandazi inapikwa pale Statehouse. Hiyo ndio ile kazi amekupatia. Na kama sasa mtu kama wewe Moses Kuria, mtu alikuwa kiongozi wa, tulikuwa tunafikia ni kiongozi wa maana, leo hii kazi yenye unafanya Statehouse ni ya kunyapara China mandazi, hauna audacity hata ya kutuongelesha kama jamii ya Mlima Kenya, kutuambia ati tusiunde chama chetu, ati tusiungane, ati Rigathi Gachagua asikuwe kiongozi wetu. Haufai hata kidogo. In fact, you are the most last person mwenye anafaa kutuadvise kama jamii ya Mlima Kenya, kwa sababu tayari wewe uko mstuni. Ruto amekukon. Sasa kukuja hapa Mlima Kenya pale Embu penye ulikuwa jana kutuambia mambo ya William Ruto, ati sijui serikali, sijui sasa mmeanza kufanya kazi, ati mwenye alikuwa anazuia mfanye kazi ni Rigathi Gachagua, sasa ameenda nyumbani, sasa mtatekeleza. Hizo zote ni bwembwe. Hatuwezi kuamini Moses Kuria, hatuwezi kuamini kwa William Ruto. Sisi kama jamii ya Mlima Kenya tuko na kiongozi ambaye anaitwa Rigathi Gachagua. Tuko nyuma yake, na hata kama mmemfuta kazi, hata kama mmetumia sheria mbovu mkamfuta na madhara yote, bora hamtamuua, ndiye kiongozi wetu. Tutadunda chama ili ambayo itabeba watu wetu wa Mlima Kenya, na siasa zetu sasa tutazipanga. Hatukuhitaji weka kwa William Ruto, endelea kukua nyapara pale, angalia China mandazi sasa zenye zinapikwa. Sisi wachana, sisi tunajielewa. Sisi ni watu wa biashara, sasa tunajielewa, lakini kuna mambo ya biashara kando na kuna mambo ya kisiasa kando. Na wakati huu sasa ni wakati wa watu kujipanga. Tuko na Raila Amolo Odinga, amekuwa na chama cha ODM zaidi ya miaka 15. Chama ambao is a regional political party. Na kwa sababu ya Raila Amolo Odinga kuwa na chama cha ODM, that is why mumemuita juzi. Mkampatia serikali nusu. Muko na mtu anaitwa Moses Wetangula, muko na Mudavadi, wale ambao wako na those who are calling tribal parties pale Western. Kwa sababu ya hizo chama mnaita regional parties. That is why today Moses Masika Wetangula is the Speaker of the National Assembly. That is why today, because of the ANC, which is a regional and a tribal party, it has made Musalia Mudavadi to be the Prime Cabinet Secretary bila hata kurata moja alileta hapo kwa meza. Alafu unatuambia ati jamii ya Mlima Kenya, watu ambao ni zaidi ya milioni 15, ati tusitengeneze chama yetu, ati hiyo chama itakuwa ya ukabila. Mimi nataka niambie jamii yetu, kama kuna mtu ambaye hatuwezi amini, ni mtu anaitwa Moses Kuria, mtu anaitwa Kimani Ichung'wah, na wala wakora wengine wote kutoka Mlima Kenya ambao wameshikana juzi wakafukuza Rigathi Gachagua.
And I like it. ODM party is predominantly an ODM, a Luo party. Yes. The backbone is the Western. If you look at Ford Kenya, it was just within Bungoma. Look at ANC, it is strong in some few parts of Western. And so, how is it that then a plan to form a political, Mount Kenya to form a political party is being branded as isolative? And in fact, someone wants to say that if Mount Kenya is the way they are, they're isolating themselves. So, the third issue I should not forget is fear through abductions and disappearances. Guys, let's not forget, some young 3 men were arrested, and for over a month, the country didn't know where they were. The case dragged for long until a month later, and I kept on wondering, okay, even if you put someone under some torture, why a month? It was to create the fear. You are seeing videos of people being arrested in broad daylight, in cameras, so that members of the public can fear. You can see there is even, and that fear is supposed to suppress resistance from the public. Ukiona venye watu wanashikwa, even if today you were to wake up and go to the protest, can you go and protest when things are bad? It is part of the wider script. And that's what I call it, fear mongering. Look at these 3 narratives. These 3 narratives are being brought in public to try to convince you that probably the choice in 2027 is already made. Look at the petition, the proposal by Cherargei, 7-year term. It's supposed to tell the members of the public that, Ruto has not done well, so we should add him some time. And we want to debunk this because at the Rigathi Gachagua impeachment, I have seen a clique of analysts running with the narrative that William Ruto is a grandmaster. So if he has impeached his deputy, those who are planning to run against William Ruto should just shelve their ambitions. Tell that to the birds. The Rigathi Gachagua impeachment cannot be seen, the credit cannot be put on William Ruto's shrewdness, because it was blatant abuse of state machinery. The MPs from the National Assembly to the Senate voted because of personal fortunes, and that cannot be questioned. Look at these 3 narratives. That Ruto will even rig that election like in the past. I recently saw Kisia telling Manyora in one of the interviews that the election can be won to an extent that you can't rig. And in fact, if you even rig one vote with the level of public anger, the public have protested Finance Bill 2023. They protested Finance Bill 2024. They protested Adani. They protested Shah. They have protested that education funding model. They have protested the housing levy. And the only point remaining is tukutane kwa debe. So that election of 2027 is the only hope for those who believe there is some injustice, that the president is not doing something right. So the narrative of rigging elections is a fear narrative. I've realized sometimes while we want to believe that it can be rigged, but elections can go to a situation you can't rig. Look at what happened in Botswana. The president wrote his concession speech before even the results were announced, and they've had very smooth transition. The other narrative, it's another fear narrative. Ruto Raila together is unbeatable. Who said that? I want to say this. Raila Odinga's support base is only strong and will only be strong if Raila is in the ticket. I voted in my tiny village in Siaya. Maybe there were a group of voters from Nairobi. Most likely, quite a few will take matatus here to go and vote there. If Raila is not in the ballot, the Raila audience is tired. In fact, the Raila support will be more confused if Raila says Ruto Tosha. I was telling someone, just peer talk, that Raila only have two options. He either say Kalonzo Tosha or he keeps quiet. But saying Ruto Tosha will be disastrous. It will be disastrous because two things. Mount Kenya will turn against Ruto. That's number one. Number two, his support base in Nyanza will also be facing a betrayal tag. Kalonzo Musyoka has supported Raila for the last 15 years. You can't rub off that. For the last 12 years, if I'm not wrong, 10. You can't change. You can't change facts. And if Raila is not on ballot in 2027, it is only decent for him to hand over his constituency to Kalonzo. The other one, without Mount Kenya, William Ruto can still make it. That is another narrative targeting. Yes, those three narratives I've given you, they're supposed to frame the thinking of the masses about personalities and tribes. And that is why I told you that after the Gen Z protest, all these are just tribal ethnic mobilization tools. But with the level of such civic education that we are making, we are doing, we believe the members of the public should be able to shed off personality politics and look at the factors on table. Currently, people are losing their relatives in dialysis who cannot get cancer dialysis. People are losing their relatives who are in having chronic illness because of that transition from shit. And we seem we cannot explain how we are spending 104 billion for a health system while of just keeping data and managing the data of the patients, while some hospitals do not have drugs. Those are the factors that should be running on Wanjiko's mind on August 10th when she faces the ballot. All these narratives are meant to suppress the public from thinking of a change of guard. Kenya is a country of history. It will not be shocking for us to have President Ruto for one term and set a precedent. Even Ruto has set a precedent of impeaching a deputy. Even him, one term is not and should not be something new. That is the world trend. And what do they want to, why do I believe that it is possible? Against the fear mongering, these are the factors that are key determinant of the next election. the voting demographic is evolving. In 2027, those who are going to be new voters are those who are born between 2005 to 2009. In my family, that is our fourth born. Yes, that is the boy who is now in, that is the boy who is now in college. They're first-time voters. And that shows you why, someone was just telling me remotely, that the reason why IBC Ruto is very slow on constituting IBC is because he knows he wants less political participation and less persuasion on registering as voters, because if IBC is constituted, the fellows that are doing civic education will mobilize the young people as early as now to register as voters. And that is why deliberately the state is keen on crippling the IBC. And even if it is made now, they will not be given funds to register voters. There will be suppression because of the new demographic. The new demographic are the young people that are on the street. If that number comes out to vote, it can vote in a direction that is unriggable. The second factor is the public resilience on state machinery. I want to say this. It is easy to silence the voices through the guns and the bullets. But when it gets to 2027, for example, I'm seeing now Treasury is now returning some tax policies that were at the center of the anti-government protests, anti-finance bill protests. When it reaches 2027, someone was saying people cannot come up and protest. Guys, people will develop that resilience and say it is our time. We either do it or we don't do it. We either do it or miss it. Na ikifika mahali military itakwambia wewe watu washakataa, wewe enda. The people have decided. The third factor is Raila absence in the ticket is key, and I really hope. I'm seeing Orengo saying Raila should go to ballot. No, Raila should not go to vie in 2027. So that we want to have a clean election outside personality. Because when Raila on ballot, the whole cocoon of politicians will go to Mount Kenya to run a smear narrative against Raila so that they can get their vote. We want to end that. So that we want to look at people on individuals, not on emotions. And Ruto's worsening record is at the center of that election. Even if you bring broad-based, even if you impeach Rigari, even whatever happens, but the public Kenyans will demand, show us your record. And that is the only demand that will only demanded on Ruto, not other candidates. Lastly, Mount Kenya might emerge with the new political wave. It's possible. With the betrayal card on table, a new political wave can emerge and it can sweep the political landscape very fast. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what you think about this analysis. For this month of October, November, I rate this amongst my very best and the one that I've really done my homework. You can also rate it kindly. Thank you very much, and I'm leaving you with a snippet of our last Granikia project in Nyandarua. Thank you. It's Penina Nyambura. This was huyu ndio shosh alikuwa peke yake, and let me just tell you how we provided solutions there. Huyu shamba alikuwa naisha alipewa, yes, they were given those allotment letters. But apparently nyumba alijengewa ilishanguka. So the grandchildren ndio walikuwa nyumba zao zilikuwa ziko hapo. So she was just using a makeshift structure. Now what would happen is when the grandchildren come, alisema she feels unsafe or she feels like anawafinyilia. Now she has to leave and go back to that kitchen, which is now the house yenye alikuwa amejengewa. So this house was built for Nyambura. She will use it alone. Peke yake, and she was very happy. And may God bless you. Now, that is Penina Nyambura. This other one is Alice Kamande. But then apparently Alice akona watoto 6, she told us. Kona watoto 6. there is only one, yule mwenye mwana pale tulikuwa na yeye, I think I showed her in the video, but the others awako there, and what she could not directly say, but we also gathered kwamba alcohol and illicit brew, it's a big problem. So she's also gotten that place. Malikuwa nalala ni kwa nyumba kingine kadogo ya mbao, and it was also destroyed. So she's got another one, and then the last one is Mzee Njuguna Munyu, yeah, Njuguna Munyu. This one here, yeye pia anaishi peke yake actually in that home. Yes, anaishi peke yake, and he was telling me yeye ndiye alikuwa ananiambia hana choo. Yeah, so I tried telling some people there, nimeona huko wameweka stima, at least the local community sasa wale ambao the MCA there are trying to get contact, awajengee mzee show, ajengee mzee choo, yeah, na pia ikewe maji so that mzee apate usaidizi. But if one of you will be willing, I can be able to directly link you so that mnaweza jengea mzee choo. Yeah, hiyo ndio shida pekee sasa yanabaki nayo. But of the house, he's gotten a house, and thank you, we've made an impact. That for sure, guys, I can tell you, we've really made good impact. If you want to partner with Granny Care in future, then Manda is there. And I want to tell you, Granny Care is the symbolic, the flagship project of the Bold Network. God willing, we are going to register it to a full foundation. We are in that process. But Granny Care is our project now. So this is a project that will move across different counties. We've done Kilifi, we've been to Kisumu, now we're in Nyandarua. We will go somewhere else. But if you want to partner with us and know more about, contact us and you can continue supporting. Hata kama unataka kujenga ingine ya Kilifi uliona, you can still reach out, you can still link and build another one if you want to support someone else. And now that is the program.